All right, everyone, welcome to this special report for Saturn going over the Galactic Center in 2017. So, as a lot of you know, I usually talk about astrology from a personal standpoint, personal growth, personal development, things like that. But obviously, astrology does play a role collectively, right? So we can look at astrology just to get a general idea, sort of theme of what we've got unfolding at a particular point in time. Now, the reason this particular aspect is important is because Saturn only goes over the galactic center once every 29 years, roughly. Okay, so very rare, in fact. And the reason this is a collective video is because in my own personal research, I've been sort of looking at and comparing the last times we had Saturn go over the galactic center. So this was back in 1929, back in 1958, and 1988. And what's significant about those times is that those were times of restructuring to the economic system, okay? Obviously, 1929, right after we had the last Saturn Conjunct Galactic Center, we had the Great Depression, okay? Just a few days after that, in fact, we had Black Tuesday and Thursday. Now, I do want to start by saying this video, and my intention in this video is not to promote fear or to scare anybody, but merely to, I feel like it's my duty to give this information to you because I'm aware of it, I'm doing the research, and if I didn't put it out there, obviously I don't believe that would be right. So I want to put it out there. This is just my view of the astrology. Again, I don't even believe astrology can make firm predictions collectively outside of personal growth and development. But again, we do see correlations and we do see themes. So anyways, 1929 was the first one from the past 100 years. Then we had 1958, which 58 was a very good time. 50s in general, very good time economically. But in 1958, we did have a recession, and it was the most significant recession for the time periods between 1945 and 1970. So relatively speaking, it was a recession, but it wasn't all that bad. And in the astrology, there was only one aspect with Saturn and the galactic center. Because what usually happens with Saturn aspects is he'll go over it 3 times. So in this case, with the galactic center, Saturn will go over it once, then go retrograde, back over it again, and then direct, obviously, for the last time. So you have 3 aspects, usually with Saturn. This also applies in personal astrology as well. And usually, when Saturn only makes 1 conjunction or 1 aspect, it's not nearly as impactful as when he makes 3. So it makes sense that 1958 wasn't as impactful. And it also happened, the actual recession happened before it, which is interesting. It didn't happen after it. So again, there's an anomaly with that, and it could have to do with maybe just the 1 conjunction. I don't know. But in 1988, the last time we had Saturn over the galactic center was a 3-way conjunction, a 3 aspect, and that was Black Monday on October as well, just a few months after Saturn's last aspect with the galactic center. So Black Monday, stock market crash, wasn't that significant, not like a 1929 type of situation, but it did have that, economic restructuring going on. So now here we are in 2017. We've got Saturn going over the galactic center. He's going to go over it for the first time here in March, what is it? 7th, I believe. I believe it's March 7th. And then he's going to finish up here at the end of the year. So we've got that going on this year. We'll have a look at this generally in terms of what my own personal views are of it. But again, this is just my personal take, just to put the information out there. All right. So yeah, let's look at this in more detail when we return. All right, so there he is, Saturn over the galactic center. So first of all, this is significant because most astrologers aren't even going to talk about Saturn going over the galactic center, at least Vedic won't. They don't look at the galactic center. And then Western astrologers won't usually because they're not looking at the actual stars like we are here. So with Sidereal, as a lot of you know with this channel, we're looking at the actual size of the constellations, the actual location of the constellations. Whereas, for example, mainstream Western astrology puts Saturn over here in Sagittarius and Pluto over here in Capricorn, even though that's not where they actually are in the sky. So we are actually looking at the sky. And so because of that, obviously, we have to look at the galactic center, a very significant part of the sky, which is essentially the center of our galaxy. And the center of the galaxy is a massive black hole, just like all galaxies, in which light and stars and all this are being sucked into. So the same analogy, the same metaphor applies for planets. Every single time we have a planet go over the galactic center, it always represents some sort of transformation or change with that planet's energy. And in the case for Saturn, as a lot of you know, have to do with the structures in our life. And collectively our societal structures, such as governments, political structures, economic structures, especially because Saturn rules Earth in the material realm, right? So very significant to look at because this only happens once every 29 years, and it is a very important part of the sky. Now, leading up to this, it's always important to note what Saturn is doing. Saturn, and any planet, before they go over the galactic center, they go through Scorpio and Ophiuchus. And as a lot of you know, when a planet goes through these signs, things get exposed anyways. And so what we've been experiencing for about the past year and a half is a lot of things having to do with governments and, again, societal structures and economic structures being exposed, being brought to the surface, that the hidden is now coming to light about it. And so it could very well have to do with this conjunction, because this is the last, what the galactic center is the last point of Ophiuchus. As you can see, it's like right in between there, right in between Sagittarius and Ophiuchus. So when planets go over there, they then go into Sagittarius, which is much more expansive and transformative as a result. But before that, it is all about uncovering hidden things, restructuring when it has to do with Saturn, and all of that. So that's what we've been seeing already, obviously. But the galactic center is a very important point in which things can be timed a little bit more specifically with that. So what we got this year is that Saturn's going to go over the galactic center in early March. It's going to go into Sagittarius, then go retrograde, go back over the galactic center, and then over it again. So let's look at the exact dates for those of you who want to look at these dates. Now, these dates aren't meant to be specific events. In astrology, what you've got, when you've got these outer sort of aspects, you then need to look at the specific daily aspects to time them. So, for example, like in your personal chart, even if you had something on March 7th, it would mean that any time really for like a month, typically with a Saturn aspect, about a month before, a month after, or 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after, in which the daily transits could trigger it, right? So the dates are just meant to be taken loosely for the surrounding months. But in early March, we do have Saturn going over the galactic center once. Then in early May 5th to be exact, so about second half of April, first half of May, around there is the second one. And then the last one is in late November, on November 24th. Okay. So those are the dates. Now, the last two economic restructurings that we had in 1929 and 1988 happened after the conjunction. So it could be that maybe in 2018 we might be entering into, again, maybe some sort of recession or depression, hopefully not, something like that, or maybe just a restructuring with our political system. Because obviously there's a lot going on with that collectively. And I don't just mean in the United States either. I'm talking about in Europe, or even in Australia and New Zealand is certainly very possible. There's just a lot of this change happening globally with all these structures right now anyways, and the galactic center could certainly facilitate that. But from my own personal view, I do see this as economic, because there's a very strong correlation between past economic turns and Saturn going over the galactic center. And again, Saturn does rule the material realm. So there it is. So this is mostly just meant to put the information out there. Again, I'm not making any firm predictions. Just want to put it out there. Maybe even open discussion for those of you who want to comment down in the comment section below, and maybe give your feedback in terms of what this might mean collectively, or if you've got similar analysis, or yeah, just your views, whatever it is. It could certainly help. We can get a discussion going about this. But my main intention with this video is just to put the information out there so all of you see what I'm seeing. And again, it's not meant to promote any fear or anything like that, but just maybe, you know, to get some confirmation for those of you who may be already feeling like something is maybe potentially happening or going to happen or something like that. You can prepare for, not again in a state of fear, but just it's good to be grounded and prepared for, you know, potential situations, especially if you're in the markets or, you know, or your job or career is very dependent on, you know, the financial system or something like that. I don't know. Just putting it out there. All right. So that's Saturn over the Galactic Center. I feel like I'm leaving something out. I probably am, but again, maybe I'll comment down below if there's anything specifically. Again, not all recessions or depressions either were associated with Saturn over the Galactic Center, but every time Saturn went over the Galactic Center over the past 100 years, it has meant some sort of shift or change with the economic environment. All right, so I hope you guys have an awesome day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow for the daily report. Take care.